Welcome everyone to the clash between our Praggnanandhaa, who's just entering into the frame, against Abhimanyu Mishra. Well, Pragg is now 20 years old, but at some point he became an IM at the age of 10 years and 10 months. And he held on to that record for quite some time until Abhimanyu Mishra came in and broke through that record at the age of 10 years and 4 months. That's how both Pragg and Abhimanyu are connected to each other in some way. To me, they are the ultimate prodigies in the world of chess. Of course, after that, we've had two more people breaking Abhimanyu's record of youngest IM. We have Faustino Oro first and then Roman Shokziev. There you see Abhimanyu Mishra coming in. But the honor of being the youngest ever grandmaster in chess still is held by this young boy, which is incredible. He achieved it, if I'm not mistaken, at the age of 12 years and 4 months. Just incredible what he has achieved. And there you have Pragg and Abhimanyu shaking hands with each other. Abhimanyu, of course, representing the US flag. And we have a handshake there. Off we go. Pragg takes his time before the first move and opens with the English opening. Pawn to c4 played. And Abhimanyu brings his knight out to f6. And now knight to f3 played. And let's see what Abhimanyu does here. He goes pawn to e6. And he's going to break in the center with d5. But Pragg pushes pawn to b3, opening up his bishop on this long diagonal. Generally, you start with the other bishop. He goes b3, pawn to d5 played here. And bishop to b2. Well, Abhimanyu brings his bishop to d6 now. It's interesting how this opening is a little bit similar to Gukesh versus Arjun on the adjoining board. Pawn to g3 now played. And Pragg is going for the double fianchetto here. He goes castles. And Pragg brings his bishop out to g2. And pawn to c5. You generally want to be careful around black pushing the pawn to d4, blocking the bishop. So Pragg takes on d5. You can take with both the pawn and the knight. Wonder what Abhimanyu will do here. Maybe knight takes d5 is not such a bad idea. But he goes pawn takes d5, which is logical, opening up the bishop, getting the knight to c6. It feels like black's position is flowing here, but d4 by Pragg. And that's an important move, because if you castle, then perhaps black can go d4 and block this bishop. So d4. And now knight to c6 played by Abhimanyu. He's attacking the d4 pawn. You can take on c5, but first let's castle it out, says Pragg. He short castles here. And a very useful move, rook e8, placing the rook on the semi-open file on e8. Knight jumps into c3, attacking the pawn on d5 here. And Abhi now thinks a bit and goes knight takes d4. He takes it with his knight. Pragg, of course, has to take back. Knight takes d4. Pawn takes d4. And now here's the point. If you take queen takes d4, he wants to go bishop e5 and create pressure down on e2. So that's the reason why knight b5 is the best move here. And Pragg finds it. He plays his knight to b5. Attacking the pawn here and the d4 pawn. Bishop e5, defending the pawn. And now bishop takes d4. He takes, and now knight takes on d4 seems the most logical here. He brings his knight, defends the pawn, rook c1 coming in, queen c2 to b2, rook d1. This looks like a position where white has easy moves, but of course black is very solid. Bishop to g4 is always an irritating move to face. It's pressure on the e2 point. And now Pragg goes pawn to h3. He attacks the bishop on g4, which is putting pressure on e2, and the bishop comes back to d7. And pawn comes up to e3, and Pragg is happy with what he has here. Rook to c8. Maybe now rook c1 makes sense, but instead he goes knight e2, and that's a very interesting maneuver by Pragg. Imagine you go a6, suddenly you have knight f4 with pressure down here, all three pieces. So Abhimanyu decides that this knight has to be pinned. He goes bishop to b5. And rook e1, defending the knight here. And he chops off on e2. Now, this would work beautifully if it were like after rook e2, black would get some very clean equalizer with d4. But that's not the case here. d4 is not in any way possible. In fact, d4, rook d2 is just losing a pawn. So, knight e4 is what Abhimanyu had on his mind, to go to c3 and fork the two white pieces. Taking here de4 would lead to closer to equality, although over there white still could have something. But rook c2, I love this move. I absolutely love this move, because now knight c3 can be safely met with queen d3. So rook c2, queen f6 played. He's looking still at the c3 square, but now you can double down the c file. And he gets it, rook c1. If knight c3 again, you have queen d3. It's just torture there. So Abhimanyu decides to keep the rooks on the board, keeping some pressure down onto the f2 pawn. Pragg says, well, for me it's more important to get the queens off. So he goes bishop, queen f3. He's ready to trade the queens. So queen takes queen, bishop takes queen, attacking here. Rook can now enter on c7. It seems like a one-way traffic here. Abhimanyu in big pressure. King f8, a good move. So that to meet rook c7 with rook e7. Pragg does play rook c7. And now rook to e7, stopping the menace on the 7th rank. Bishop to g4 played, taking control of this important diagonal. Well, he comes back knight d6. And now he takes on e7. Maybe rook d e8 was better right there, but perhaps not. Like now rook c7 check, and suddenly you can't put your rook in the middle anymore. So you have to move your king, king f6. The rook is very active. He's bringing his king in. Step by step, Pragg putting a lot of pressure on Abhimanyu. g6 is the only move, perhaps he finds it. g6 played with the idea of h5 perhaps. He goes h4, making a square for the bishop on h3. And black goes h5, attacking the bishop. The bishop comes back to h3. Maybe the idea is to put some pressure from g2. So king comes up to e5. Now the main plan here is to play f5 and limit this bishop on h3. So Pragg plays f4. A very interesting move. If you go king e4, king e2, and the king can get trapped here. Could get mated. So he quietly goes back to f6. And now Pragg brings his king to e2. Maybe the best move for black now is a5. Not so easy to play such a move. He goes rook e8. But now Pragg has king f3. Pragg is back on the board. 16 minutes for him, 6 minutes for Abhimanyu. King goes to f3. And maybe he wants to play rook e7, offering a trade of rooks. If you take, it's a draw. But what about rook c5? Pragg, of course, has that in mind. He's going there. Yes, rook to c5. Played here, attacking the d5 pawn. There's just no way to defend those pawns. d5 pawn, how do you? He goes d4, he gives up the pawn. Pawn takes pawn. Pragg is now a pawn up with a close to winning advantage. He is feeling confident. He could very well join Maqsoodlu at the top as the leader. Rook e8. And now rook e5 could be an idea because the c8 square is covered. He goes rook to c7. And rook e7, a rook trade is offered, and I believe Pragg can take it here. It's an important decision. He takes it. King takes 4 minutes left until 3 more moves to make, and f5, an excellent move, keeping his chances alive to break in king f6, and now a very important move, king f4 for Pragg. The idea behind that is that next move you want to take on g6, and if king g6, you have king e5. And there's no time for black to get in the move f6. He instead takes here. And that's not a great move. And look at Abhimanyu. He's so happy here. He's so happy, and Pragg is shocked. Pragg is completely shocked, like why is his opponent so thrilled? King takes g6 taken here, and I think for Abhimanyu, he understands that if he gets this pawn to f6, this is a huge move for him. King f4 and f6, that's some sort of a fortress built here. Wow, look at this. And I think Pragg might not be the happiest person there, although he still has some chances to play for a win, and that involves him breaking with g4 at the right time. b6 played, you see, taking away the square. It's very important to notice how the knight controls the light squares, the pawns control the dark squares, and together they form a formidable team. And Abhimanyu keeps his king between these 3 squares here. a5. And now b takes a5 would be a losing blunder because of d5, and then the king just enters here. So you need your pawn on b6 to control that square. So king h6, not touching it at all. Bishop f3. King g6. And he goes bishop c6. For Pragg, it feels like he still should have some chances, but it's so tricky now. These fortresses are just insane. King g7. And you can just sense it from Pragg's body language that he's not happy with that decision. Because many times, you may have your chance now in the game to play for a win. But because you have missed that moment where you could have easily won, and that plays on your mind. And that really kind of drops your quality of play. And look at Abhimanyu. He knows that he doesn't have to do anything here. Just has to keep waiting. Bishop a4. Okay. I mean, good or bad, Pragg has to try for this g4 move and try something there. For now, All he doesn't, the thing is, knight d6, pawn b6, you don't touch this, and pawn f6. So basically there's only one piece that's moving, that's the king. But it has enough maneuverability. d5. I mean, at the right time, Pragg has to go basically g4. Bishop a4 played. He comes back, king g7. bd1 played. Pragg is known as the ultimate grinder in the world of chess, and I'm pretty sure that he would like to go g4 and try for something here. Although the truth be told, let's say something like g4 takes, it's not so trivial, but maybe there are chances, like try to enter here, king g6. Pragg goes king g2 for Abhimanyu. Nothing really changes. He keeps his plan intact, king h6. King h3. King g6. And now look at Abhimanyu's confidence there. Bishop d1. Pragg makes his move, presses the clock. And we have him waiting for Abhimanyu to come back. He comes back to the board and Pragg offers a draw and Abhimanyu accepts it. Pragg didn't even try with this g4 idea, which was his only idea. That's a big surprise to me, why he did not do that. And he asks, instead of, he could have tried for g4 stuff. And you can see there he says you can take, king g4, king h6, bishop c2, king h5, and try for this endgame. And look at that boy's understanding here. And he's showing endgames there. And Pragg is shell-shocked here. Pragg is like, yeah, I gets the knight. I think for Pragg, maybe once he missed that moment, he just completely lost the interest perhaps. And I've not seen Pragg like this. He's generally quite into the zone. He is able to recover, but maybe in this game he wasn't. And here, I think he's clearly unhappy with his play. We got Abhimanyu on our stream to analyze the position and to get his thoughts. And well, we can say only one thing: the boy just understands chess quite deeply and could very well be one of the best in the world, the absolute best in the years to come. Let's hear him out. Oh wow, who is here?
Hi.
Oh wow.
Hi, Sagar.
Oh, we have the guy, the man with the defensive fortress here. Hello, Abhimanyu. We were just looking at your game right now. I mean, since a long time. And we were like shocked that there was just no way to break in. How did you manage to hold it, Abhimanyu?
Yeah, actually, he was playing quite well. Actually, this opening is also very interesting because in the opening stages, I mean, it's a very minor detail, but he played b3 first. Now, the thing is, let's say instead of b3, if I place g3.
Yes, that's
Now,
the
in the
main way to
b3
play,
line,
yeah?
yeah, now let's say d5, bishop g2, bishop e7, castle, b3,
Yes.
c5, bishop b2, knight c6, and there are all these lines, so that go like, I think there are many lines here, but like, let's say the main ones go like knight c6, c takes d5, knight takes d5, d4, and like, I think bishop f6 or something is a move here, or c takes d4 and knight takes d4 and bishop f6.
Yeah.
Now the thing is with I said knight takes d4, queen takes d4, bishop f6. I mean, but yeah, I mean it's all pretty close to equal. but now the thing is, if you take into account the way that he played, so he started with the move b3. Now the thing is, if black plays, let's say bishop e7, if you start with so like a d5, bishop b2, and now if you play bishop e7 instead of bishop d6, the thing I realized was that let's say now he plays e3, castle, knight c3. Now if I want to play, I can't. Now things if I play a c6 structure like with like some kind of semi-Slav, the bishop on e7 is misplaced. So I played bishop d6, and then once I committed bishop d6, then he played g3. Now this is a very nice. This is a nice move order trick, so that I don't get the same lines with the bishop on e7.
Correct. But the way you played, it did feel like you were like Pragg got something out of the opening. It was not like a very equalish kind of position, right?
Yeah, I mean, I felt like, yeah, I mean, of course, definitely from the opening itself, I felt like I was a bit worse, but of course, it's not like catastrophic or anything. It's,
Yeah.
I mean, this was also very interesting because, like, I think on board two, like Gukesh versus Arjun, it was exactly the same structure, and
Exactly.
I was also looking at that game, and I was wondering, I was like seeing how Arjun was trying to defend and trying to apply some ideas of them into this position as well.
Yeah, we were thinking
he-
like was it like both of the boards were getting inspired from each other? How, because Arjun's position looked easier to play than yours somehow.
Yeah, definitely. I think the main difference was that he had rooks on c8, c7. He was up by a couple tempi compared to this game. But of course, he played very well, and I think he held like very, very easily. So yeah, I mean, this bishop g4, bishop d7, this was, I mean, I felt like this is nice in the sense that it kind of provokes h3, and now whenever I play knight d4, you don't have f3.
You know what, Abhimanyu, I was pretty sure that Pragg is going to really grind here because, you know, when there is some line which doesn't end in a forced draw here, black is really in trouble. Like, that's what happened, right? Like, you had, there was nothing forcing. If you'd got d4 or something in, then you don't have to worry. But you couldn't manage that, right?
I mean, it was always quite. I mean, I played rook c8. Now instead of rook c8, I mean, this was also a critical moment whether I should play rook takes c2. But the thing was like rook takes c2.
Takes, and it felt like.
And yeah, yeah. Now if I go like rook d8, there's even queen c1 or something. It's very. I mean, it looks very unpleasant to me.
Also,
I mean, I just
also
never
sometimes like queen f3.
Oh, sorry, not. Yeah, no, sorry, not rook d8. Queen e5. Queen e5. Actually, this was I was debating whether I should play rook takes c2 and queen e5 or rook c8. But if I play queen e5 here. Now white goes queen c1. I wasn't sure on whether this works because the problem is d4 white has rook c4.
Nice.
And this was actually rook c4 unless there's some knight takes f2 stuff, but I don't think it works.
You know, there's this very insane move, Abhimanyu. Bishop takes e4.
Wow, okay.
And if d, then queen d7
queen
is
d7
decisive.
Yeah, I have to go queen takes e4, and this is very, very unpleasant. I mean, queen takes e4, rook c7, and okay,
Yeah, this is also very bad. Wow. So maybe it was right what you did, rook cd8, keeping the advantage to a minimum for Pragg.
But yeah, now I think whatever queen f3 he played, this is nice because, I mean, I should have probably defended the endgame better. I mean, but I got into very big trouble soon after this. I mean, after bishop g4, knight d6, okay, rook e7, he got this h4.
Also,
because actually, I think I'm.
Pragg is known for grinding such positions. Yeah, were you worried at this point?
I mean, there's nothing you can do being worried. I mean, you have to just try to find the best moves no matter what and make moves. So.
True.
But of course, I mean, like black is in very real danger of losing this game. King e5. I mean, my plan was that if he goes king e2, I go f5 and like kill this bishop and go rook c8 next move. It's like positional suicide, but as long as this bishop doesn't get to f7 magically, I should be fine.
Right. Okay, we go to this critical moment in the game where you actually had to give up a pawn here with d4. I guess it's not a very happy choice to make, giving up this pawn.
Yeah. Actually, the problem here is that after e takes d4, my first idea, of course, was to go rook e1. But the problem with rook e1 is that white goes rook d5. And I didn't see a proper square for this knight because if I go knight e8, there's rook e5, so let's say knight e4. So knight e4, I thought rook e5. Now the problem is knight d2 check, king f2. Now if I go rook a1, he can play rook e2, rook takes a2, king e3, he wins the knight. Oh, sorry, rook a2, there's apparently, wait, sorry, rook e2, there's rook d1. Rook d1 and knight b1, maybe. This is.
Oh, crazy, man.
Oh, wait, okay, this is apparently the bar is saying this is all wrong, but I
Actually,
mean,
the
instead
move
of.
is knight b1 here. What
Knight
the
b1
hell?
first.
What, you
Knight
set up
c3.
like the board on the opposite side?
Yeah, I mean, instead of rook e2, I felt like there should be some win for white because this d pawn is also very, very strong.
Yeah,
I mean, that's why I didn't go for.
I think some bishop g2 move works, yeah, here.
Bishop g2. Yeah. He's just waiting for rook takes a2, and then you play rook e2.
Correct. So
yeah, I mean, based on all this, I couldn't really play active, so I played rook e8, rook c7, rook e7, rook take, king
what
take.
was your assessment here? Did you feel like there are chances to hold, or?
I mean, I felt like, okay, if I don't go for this, I didn't see any, like all the other alternatives, they seemed pretty lost to me. Like if instead of rook e7, if I have d8 and try to defend, I mean, if I don't lose in the next hour, I will definitely lose in 2 hours. I mean, that much is sure. So if I go rook e7, I thought there's like a 50-50 chance that I might hold or I might lose. I mean, here because I wasn't entirely sure because, okay, he played f5 because again, if I get f5, b6, this is just immediate draw. So f5, of course, is very important move.
Right.
So f5, king f6, and now f takes g6, which I think.
Can you explain to us here like we are not able to yet analyze it so deeply. We need like some more time, but perhaps the weak engine here suggests king f4 as a much better try.
Yes. The reason for this is because in the game, when I got king takes g6 and f6, he was unable to break this kind of setup. And now in this situation, like let's say you get, I don't know, let's say if I play some move like b6 or whatever. Now you go f takes g6. And now f takes g6, because king takes g6, king e5. So okay, f takes g6 is forced, and now the problem is that compared to the game, I have another weakness to defend, and I think this fortress is lost because let's say you play bishop f1. Okay, I don't know, I'll play some move like king e6. No, sorry, no, king e6, there's king g5. Actually, they have to be a bit careful.
Maybe
bishop
you can play a4, just trying
a4. Yeah, just stop this. And now, the problem is like black will soon run out of moves because let's say when you can't really move the king because king e5 comes in, and if you move knight, there's king e4, king d5.
Oh my god.
So yeah, I mean, of course, yeah. I mean, king f4. I think this was the main try, and I really wasn't sure. I thought I might just be lost here. I mean, I have to go g takes f5, but g takes f5, bishop g2, bishop comes to f3. I mean, this is.
Yeah, this is over actually, because then again, the moment king goes here, you have the king entering to e5. It's, I think, the key thing that you explained here right now. Oh, so fg6 by Pragg, 39th move, perhaps a critical error, right? The most important mistake in the game.
Yes, I mean, I don't know if you were watching the live broadcast, but when you played f takes g6, I was like, I instantly got like very excited that okay, king takes g6, f6, I get some kind of chance to make a fortress.
Right, takes king f4.
Actually, this is a king take king f4, f6. Now this position is very, very critical. Now, I mean, in the game, honestly, he didn't really see much of a plan. Eventually, he offered a draw after wasting.
Engine says +2 here, but doesn't find a way to do it. So maybe we have to analyze with stronger engines.
I have an idea on how to press this. So okay, whatever he did, let's say he pushed the pawns to. I mean, I'm not sure whether pushing the pawn to a6 is correct, but even let's say you get the pawn to a6, this is fine. Just let's go to the end of the game actually, just for reference. I mean, this one might be a draw, but I think that if white is winning, the idea will be similar. So okay, yeah, like let's say this position. Yeah. Now again, everything is about the invasion of white's king, and okay, you need to create a second front. All this bishop takes h5 stuff doesn't work. King takes h5, black is holding if not winning. So okay, the way how you have to do this is you have to start with. Should we move to a different place? So you have to start with g4.
Yeah.
Okay, h takes g4, king takes g4.
Yeah.
Now okay, black goes to king g6. You play bishop d3 check. King h6. Bishop b1, whatever. Knight c. Or actually, again, okay, king g7, bishop. Yeah, I mean the idea is okay. So you go bishop c2, king h6, bishop d3, king g7. I mean, these are some minor details, but now the idea is you go king h5. So now, if king f7, you go king h6. So the knight has to move. So knight, this is over. So black has to move the knight, knight f7. And now you go d6, knight takes d6, king g4.
Sorry, d6, knight takes d6.
Knight takes d6,
Oh, okay.
king
Now you
g4.
try to come from
And now the idea is you
here.
could try to get the king to d5. But now the issue for white is that if black ever gets knight to e7, it's a fortress. And also, if the knight ever gets to h6 and king gets to d6, this is also a fortress. So I felt like I should be able to hold a draw here because it's just a bit. Every time, let's say you go king e3, I have knight c and knight d7.
Okay.
So okay, let's say if the king f7, king
So
f4,
king e3 is because there is no king f5 at that moment, so you can move the
Yes.
knight. Got it.
Yeah, but okay, so I mean, I guess the general winning plan will be similar to this, but maybe you need to have the pawn on, let's say, a2 or a3 here. So, okay, let's go
What's
back-
the
let's go back to
problem
the
with
start.
the pawn on a6 as compared to pawn on a3?
I think the main difference is that, let's say that there's also a lot of positions where even if you get the king to d5, c6, b7, and even if you take the a7 pawn, if I keep my king on c7, it's immediate draw because your king is stuck. Also, this kind of fortress with knight on e7 will no longer exist because the king can use the b5 square. King to b5, a6. This a6 square actually, I think is.
Oh, so actually, this idea of a5 here by Pragg was somehow like, of course, he hoped that you would take
Yes.
and you would never do it, but this was maybe too rushed, yeah.
Yeah.
So the
let's
better
try
idea
same-
is to try the same thing which you said by
Or maybe okay, let's try with the pawn on a2.
a2, yeah.
Let's say without a4. Whether this is the let's say I just try this without committing anything. So okay, king h6, white goes g4, takes g4, king takes g4. I mean, the thing is, I don't think he saw this plan of putting the king on h5. That's why he took a draw immediately. But so okay, king h6, bishop c2, king g7, d5.
You want to play d5 anyway.
Okay, I mean it's minor, but king h6, bishop d3, king g7. Okay, you just king h5 now, knight f7. But even this is what does engine say? d6, knight d6, king g4. No, you have to start with you have to start with d6.
Maybe. Oh, I should give the pawn, yeah, d6.
Yeah, I think that's the main plan.
Take
Knight takes d6, king g4.
king h6, king f4. Maybe you have to
No,
now.
but again, king h5. Yeah, I have counterplay. So you have to. I mean, you have to somehow time this very well. Like instead of king f4, maybe you have to somehow get h5, bishop g6. I mean, you have to somehow restrict my knight as well. It's
You have to be very nuanced here, like try to make a waiting move. I don't know.
But yeah, I mean, okay. I mean, VAR doesn't show anything great, right?
Also, the engine really finds like counter-attacking ideas with knight coming this side, and also, what an end game. Yeah, this is so instructive, and thank you, Abhimanyu, for coming in and showing us these lines. Also, incredible play by you in this tournament. Wins against Yu Yangi, wins against Alexei Sarana, now holding Pragg to a draw, and I think I heard your interview in Fujairah where you mentioned like you've been trying to calculate well, but the results have not been going your way. But I think now it's coming back. Yeah, the things are starting to move for you.
Yes. I mean, also, but honestly, in all three games, it could have went either way. I mean, against Yu Yangi in the opening itself, like move 15, move 16. Actually, I missed one thing. It was like +2, and if I found it, the game would basically be over. But I mean, after I missed that, I played. Actually, my game against Yu Yangi from yesterday was very similar to this one in the sense that I had to break a fortress.
Yes, and you played incredibly well. This king taking the king to b5 and stuff, brilliant.
Yeah, so I think that game also kind of helped me try delve into this fortress and to kind of come up with ideas on how to break this one. But yeah, I mean that game also. I mean, that wasn't totally clean. Like the opening, I had some chance against Sarana. I was actually briefly losing for one move. That was, I mean, I had seen some line and apparently, like the c5 line, I'd seen like 3-4 moves, and I thought I can go like b takes c4 and queen d2. But the thing was, there was one move that I think I missed from afar that if black finds, it's just basically resigns for white, and this was very kind of scary once I saw this after the game, because I thought I'd always been at least like maybe it was a bit worse, but I thought it wasn't anything major. But yeah, I mean overall, what I'm trying to say is that even this game also I was lost. There's definitely room for improvement.
Well, but
And
you are
I just
showing great resilience. That is a huge thing that you are fighting, and
thank you,
incredible. Keep going, Abhimanyu, and we are enjoying your games.
thank you, thank you.
Take care. Bye.